Alright, guys. So tonight I'm going to discuss an event that um, my wife and I have shared that has pretty much molded, changed our life, will continue to change our life. Um, but to really get into that, I have to give you a brief history of our children um, and and that aspect of our life. My wife and I have been together for 8 years, and actually 9 years, excuse me. And we have three beautiful children. The oldest is my son Keaton. He is 8 years old. My daughter is six. Her name is Colby. And then my youngest son is four, and his name is Knox. Um, our children are actually what pulled us together, and we've had some rocky times, but our children have been the reason that has pulled us out of everything that we've ever experienced. Hard times, good times, everything. Um, my sister, when my youngest son was born, my sister had just gotten married, and her one desire in life was to have children. And her and her husband attempted to have kids, and due to medical complications, she had to have a full hysterectomy. And that was right at the time that my youngest son was born. And it was an experience that for her she's still dealing with today. Shortly after she had the hysterectomy and my son was born, um, my wife came to me and asked me how I felt about offering to carry a child for my sister. And to be completely honest, I'd never considered, never even thought about it. Um, so my wife and I sat down and we discussed it, and we decided that we would go ahead and offer it to my sister. So we sat down with her and her husband and offered to more or less be a surrogate for them. And my sister was all for it, but her husband wasn't. And it was an experience, that moment in time in itself, to think about the ability to be able to offer somebody such a thing. Shortly after that, one of our really good friends um, that we had known for years, her and her husband were trying to have children, and they were not able to. So my wife actually went to them and discussed the possibility with them, and they were actually for it. And we were actually taking several steps to see about finding the ins and outs of the process when they actually just suddenly got pregnant. So the idea was in our minds, but we had never really thought beyond that moment. Um, until one day I was actually surfing on Craigslist. I'm kind of a Craigslist junkie, unfortunately. But I come across a posting for surrogates, and I brought that posting to my wife and said and asked her if she realized that there's actually, I wouldn't say necessarily a market, but there's a group of people out there that's how they attempt to have children, the only way that they can have children. At that moment in time, my wife she started getting online. She started to research, and she actually found an agency that was very, very highly recommended and praised online. It was based in Colorado, and we discussed it, and she decided that she wanted to attempt to try it. So she submitted an application. That was in, I can't remember exactly what month, but it was in 2010. And the application included just general information with a picture of us, our family, reason for interest in being a surrogate, um, and after the initial application, uh, we were kind of pre-selected, uh, and that actually started the process. There were multitude of steps that we had to go through. We did in-house interviews. We actually flew to Denver. My wife did some medical clearance, psychological evaluations, and during this time, they actually built my wife a profile. In that profile, it had all the records, all the outcomes of every testing, and a general information about our family. And what they did with that profile is intended parents that for whatever reason can't have children, or there's actually a multitude of reasons why they go to an agency like this. But they go to an agency, they look at the agency, and they look at these profiles, and they pick a person that they think they could match up with, that have the same interests, same ideals, morals when it comes to carrying a baby, selectively reducing a baby in medical situations. Anyways, they match you up. And my wife and I, after a 2-year process, we were actually matched up with a couple that were high school sweethearts. They had attempted to have children for 10 years, had several miscarriages, one after the other. And my wife actually was able to deliver twins for this family after having her tubes tied from us deciding that we were no longer going to have children, any additional children after our 3. Getting to experience that situation with that family, the relationship that we built through the pregnancy itself, and then them actually being in the room when the babies were delivered via C-section, and seeing their reaction, seeing both of their parents, groups of parents, were actually flew here to Lubbock. They live in the family lived in California, but their parents lived in Florida. But getting to see them experience what they thought they never would have the ability to experience is something that has changed both of our lives. We've talked to many friends, many families, just numerous people that have given us different reactions to the situation. People can't understand why we would do it. People praise us for doing it. But nobody was in the room with us when those babies were born, and to get to experience the reaction of the parents. Like I said, it's something that'll change my wife and I, and my life forever. My wife has actually since then carried another set of twins for the exact same family, and at this point she's completely done, hopefully, with pregnancies. Out of 8 years, she's delivered 6 children, 3 of those being ours. But since this experience, we've decided that that's somewhat of a calling for us, is to find ways that we can change people's lives. Our intent now is, as soon as she's healthy and better, to maybe look into foster, maybe not so much adoption at this point, but we realize that we have the ability to provide a gift to people, and every opportunity we get, we try and share our story so that people can understand that things can be done to help people. And I hope that someday our children, even though they've been involved in this situation with their ages, they don't completely understand what it took, what it actually entailed for us to go through that process. But one day they will, and one day they'll understand the reasoning for it completely. And I hope that they take away from it what we have, and that the people that we share our stories with will as well. Thanks for listening.